Ever notice how sometimes, the more you want something, the more you really want it?
I know what you mean.
Like that sold-out concert ticket
Oh, tell me about it.
or that limited edition gadget everyone's going crazy for.
It's like that fear of missing out, right? Classic case of supply and demand. But
Yeah,
I think there's a deeper thing going on, too. A psychological thing, wouldn't you say?
totally. It's like this weird power dynamic.
Yeah.
Way beyond just like wanting stuff.
Absolutely.
And get this, there's a whole strategy to like use that to your advantage.
Oh, interesting.
So today we're diving deep, deep into Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power
Okay.
to unpack this fascinating idea using absence to gain respect and influence.
Yeah, it's a concept that people get wrong all the time. It's not about like being manipulative or playing games.
Right.
It's about this balance, presence, and accents and how it changes how people see you.
It's really interesting stuff. And Greene illustrates this with a pretty wild story about this medieval troubadour, Guillaume de Boulogne. This guy was totally head over heels for this lady, Guillaume de Havillac, writing poems, serenading her, the whole 9 yards.
Wow, he was smitten.
Oh, completely. But then he gets this, well, interesting idea to win her over by ignoring her.
Oh, boy. Inspired by a friend who'd made up with his own love after a big falling out, Guillaume just assumes that, playing it distant will make Guillermo want him more.
Right.
But, and this is key, Greene points out, this only works after love's already there, not at the start.
So timing is everything.
Exactly.
And, well, Guillermo, who is already totally in love with him, is crushed.
Ouch. That backfired.
Big time. He goes back to Havillac, expecting Guillermo to be furious, but instead she's like over the moon to see him, practically begging him to forgive her.
Whoops. Talk about a miscalculation.
Totally. So it's not as simple as just playing hard to get, right?
Right. It's not just about playing games. You got to build that foundation first. Make your presence something, desirable, something people actually seek out.
So they want what they can't have.
Exactly. Then strategic absence, that's when it has real power.
So it's like building that foundation of like, I want this.
Yes. Like that limited edition gadget, it's that initial buzz, that feeling of this is special. That's what everyone wants when it's gone.
Makes sense. So we've got love and longing covered, but this whole strategic absence thing, it's way bigger than just romance, right?
Oh, absolutely. This applies to power dynamics everywhere, leadership, you name it. Like, take this example.
Speaking of leadership, right? Greene, he pulls this other example from ancient media.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, ancient history, not my forte.
Well, picture this, right? Way back, before social media, before newspapers, even before, organized mail.
Okay, now that's old school.
Exactly. We're talking what's now Iran, and it's chaos, constant fighting, no real leader, just a mess everywhere.
It was messy.
Total free-for-all. And into this whole power vacuum steps Diocles. This guy, known for being fair, wise.
So like the ancient world's Judge Judy, but, serious.
Exactly. People came flocking to Diocles to settle their arguments. He's the authority, the go-to guy in a place desperate for some peace and quiet.
Right, stability.
Exactly. But, and here's the twist, just when he's at the height of his popularity, Diocles, he steps down, withdraws from public life as he's got personal stuff.
Wait, seriously. He walks away. Just like that.
He understood something, familiarity, it breeds, maybe not contempt, but definitely people start taking you for granted.
I've been there.
By stepping back, Diocles, he creates this vacuum, a void that only he can fill.
So it's like that saying, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Bingo. Crime, it skyrockets, arguments, out of control.
Predictable.
And the Medes, they start wishing for the good old days, back when Diocles was laying down the law.
Yeah.
And guess who they begged to be their king?
Diocles, right. I mean, who else?
You got it.
Yeah.
Plays it cool, though, pretends he's reluctant. But ultimately, he accepts. On his terms, of course. They build him this palace, guards, restricted access.
From open door judge to like the ultimate VIP lounge.
Masterclass in strategic absence, limiting access, boom, instant aura of authority, mystique.
The less they see him.
The more they want him.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So what's the takeaway for us regular folks? Sometimes stepping back, even from a good position.
Could actually give you more leverage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we said before, our presence, our availability, it's a resource, right?
Right.
Overuse it,
Right.
loses its value. Strategic withdrawal, creates scarcity.
And scarcity
has been so.
makes things more valuable. Makes sense.
Exactly.
So tulip mania, it's something about tulips being crazy valuable.
Yeah, like insanely valuable.
Like more expensive than a house in San Francisco valuable.
You're not kidding. We're talking Dutch Golden Age, and tulips, especially these rare ones, they became like the status symbol to have.
What was so special about them? Was it just like they looked pretty or something?
Sure, that was part of it. But the real thing was scarcity. You see, when tulips first hit Europe, they were like exotic. Everybody wanted them.
But then, as people grew more, they became more common.
Right, and less valuable.
Exactly, basic economics. But then, some clever traders, they caught on to this.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they started, limiting how many bulbs of certain tulips were out there, especially ones with unique colors or patterns.
Oh, so they created artificial scarcity.
Exactly. And bam, demand explodes, prices go through the roof.
It's wild how our brains work. Right. The harder something is to get, the more we seem to want it.
There's actually, like, real psychology behind it. Things like reactance theory, which basically says we hate having our choices limited.
Makes sense.
And loss aversion, the idea that losing something hurts way more than gaining the same thing feels good.
Interesting. So we've seen this whole strategic absence thing play out in love, in leadership, even with something as like simple as a flower.
Right.
Makes you think how we could use this ourselves,
The point isn't to disappear completely or become some kind of hermit. It's about, I think, understanding your own value and how you present yourself.
I like that.
Both personally and professionally. Sometimes, stepping back, it can actually make your impact bigger,
It's like you were saying before, our time, our skills, what we know, these are all valuable.
Absolutely.
And if we're always available, always saying yes, that value kind of goes down.
100%. Think about what you bring to the table. Don't sell yourself short. Learn when to say no.
No. It's a powerful word.
Especially in a world that's just bombarded with information, choices, everything.
Right. Everyone wants your attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Making yourself scarce in the right way.
That's the key, right?
It can make all the difference.
It's like when Green talks about knowing when to walk away, even if you're at the top.
Yeah.
He uses the example of Charles V.
Oh, yeah, Charles V.
Who was like the Holy Roman Emperor.
Big deal.
Right. And decides to just quit, retire to a monastery.
A bold move.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it worked, right?
Yeah.
Instead of clinging to power, he steps away.
Which honestly probably made people respect him more in the long run.
Right. It's like that saying, always leave them wanting more.
Nailed it. Knowing when to step back from a negotiation, a project, even just a conversation.
Interesting.
It lets you control how you're seen, keep a little mystery.
Yeah, leave a lasting impression.
Exactly.
So it's about being intentional, thinking strategically. Sometimes absence really is the most powerful move.
It's a delicate dance, presence and absence, figuring out how to use both to get where you want to go.
It's definitely given us, and I'm sure everyone listening, a lot to think about. Until next time on The Deep Dive, remember, sometimes less is truly more.